Hey everyone, welcome back to NU Takes. My name is Michael Barthelemy.
And I'm Didi, and we're here to give our own hot takes and spicy opinions about all things Northwestern sports. Today, we'll be talking about a more serious topic, the recent hiring of Mike Polisky as Northwestern's next athletic director.
Mike Polisky, the Wildcats Deputy Director of Athletics for External Affairs since 2010, was announced as the successor to Jim Phillips as Northwestern's next athletic director a week ago on May 3rd. Since the announcement, Polisky's hiring has received major backlash from the public due to a number of allegations currently being made against him.
The most prevalent is Polisky's involvement in an ongoing sexual assault lawsuit against the university that was filed in January by Northwestern cheerleader Hayden Richardson, citing that her, as well as her teammates, had been sexually exploited. She claims that the university did not appropriately handle her complaint, mentioning Polisky as one of the faculty members who dismissed her complaint and said that there were no laws broken.
Additionally, Polisky has been involved in a case of racial discrimination accusations from former NU cheerleader Erica Carter in a tell-all February article from the Daily NU stating the cheerleading program and specifically coach Pamela Bonnevier as repeatedly discriminating against Black cheerleaders, forcing them to alter their natural hair to abide by the all-American look she coined and separate them during practices for optics. Polisky was said to be dismissive once again towards complaints and was even said to be defending Bonnevier.
As a result of the recent hiring, a petition calling for Northwestern to reconsider the promotion of Polisky has gained over 1,200 signatures, and 6 Northwestern professors that are women have written an open letter to the university asking them to reconsider the hire. Students, student athletes, and faculty in Evanston also gathered to protest the Polisky hiring this past Friday, making their way to Morty Shapiro's home to do so. So, what do you think of the Polisky hire, and what do you think Northwestern should do from here?
Well, I'm in the majority here, but I agree with everyone who's protesting, everyone who's signing petitions and doing all this work to go against what the university has done. I agree that Mike Polisky being promoted to be the athletic director was a bad move by the university, immature move. Our former editor-in-chief, Leah, wrote in an article recently. She mentioned that it was a step in the wrong direction, and that's exactly what it was. Northwestern was headed in a pretty good way. Everything seemed to be on the rise in terms of Northwestern athletics. Things were looking up and up. All they needed was a new leader to run it all, a new athletic director, and they seemed to screw it up. The entire process was sloppy from the start, and it ended in the sloppiest way it could be, coming out with really just a guy that they're hiring for economic purposes, because at the end of the day, like when he was in office, Northwestern made a lot of money from their athletic compared to what they have before. And so they're disregarding all of the PR, all the accusations that have come about, all the reasons why he shouldn't get this job, because the money that he's brought in. And I mean, the money is nothing to disregard, because I mean, when him and Phillips were in office, if you'd call it, I mean, they coined the Chicago's Big Ten team slogan. They doubled season ticket sales for football, basketball, and they got the Under Armour deal in 2012. They brought Northwestern to Wrigley Field. They've done all these things to help Northwestern athletics make money, and the university seems to have tunnel vision towards just making more and more money rather than looking out for the actual athletes that are making the money. And it's honestly disgraceful for a university that is held in such a high regard as Northwestern is, to lower themselves down to a place where they're hiring a guy who's in the midst of multiple scandals for being not there for the very people he should be there for. So I agree with that they should reconsider the hiring. They should look back at other candidates, because the other candidates they were looking at were highly qualified. It was a lot of great candidates that it was a diverse array too. It was people that were able to break the mold of the athletic director scene in office. It would have been terrific for the university. It would have been a great sign in the right direction, because all these candidates were extremely qualified. No one was unqualified that Northwestern was looking at. And so to just hire from the inside like this, and for really just choosing the worst guy to promote, is disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, one word you kind of said, I think really just sums it up. It's disgraceful. I mean, that's really what it is. I think, honestly, when I first heard about the Polisky hiring, I was indifferent to it. I think I was like, I don't really know who this guy is, but sure. But I think the more that I've read about him and kind of the allegations against him, and just kind of reading about the whole narrative around kind of how he was hired, the ways in which it wasn't really a search committee, it seems, that hired him, but rather just, this core four of, Phillips and Fitz and Shapiro. It's yeah. I mean, it's honestly it's kind of disgusting, and I think it's not just a terrible look for the university on an optics level, but I think, like you said, it's not looking out for the players, that make up, the programs that have made Northwestern athletics so great over the past, couple of years. I think that, especially when you consider how things are kind of changing now. Northwestern really, they just took a step in the wrong direction. I think that, it's easy to kind of see why Polisky was the guy they chose in the end. I mean, he fits the status quo, right? I think that these four guys, they know him. He's been working at Northwestern, for around a decade. They trust him, and he also looks like the four of them. He fits that kind of stereotypical image of, what a higher up in Northwestern athletics has been. An experienced white guy, who brings continuity and safety and kind of maybe a sense of, what you're getting in terms of what he's going to bring from a professional sense. Like you mentioned, he's done like a great job at his, in his past role, and I'm sure he's more than qualified for the position. But I just think when you consider, especially, like the other three candidates, all of whom are women, two of whom were women of color, and seeing how qualified they were as well, and especially like looking at, what a hire of any of those three, could have signaled for Northwestern, whether that's Anuka Brown or Nina King, or, Blaze. I think all of them would have been phenomenal. All of them would have been much, much better choices than Polisky was. Um, and yeah, I think it's just, again, it's a step in the wrong direction. And, Northwestern as a whole seems to sort of just be stuck in the past. I mean, the entire athletic department has just one black head coach, which is, really shocking in the world of D1 sports, where, around 40% of athletes are people of color. And, just in general, I think at Northwestern, they want to preach this message that they want to build communities, and they're for justice and they're for diversity and inclusion. And then, as Leah said it in her article, actions speak louder than words. And this is really the loudest action that Northwestern could have taken. And it's a terrible, terrible decision in my opinion. And I think that, he should be replaced, as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it right there when you said it. He fits in with everyone else who's a high ranking authority at Northwestern, just an old white man, if we're just being honest. He fits the status quo of what Northwestern just making money, that sort of mission that they want, not looking out for the university, looking out for its students, who are the reason why they can make the money. How did we end up in this position where Polisky is given the job? How did we come to this point where we're sitting here wondering why?
I mean, I think it honestly comes from a lack of accountability. I think that, the success, at least in terms of like the financial success and athletic success that has come, with a lot of Northwestern's program in recent years, obviously everyone loves Fitz, everyone loves Phillips. I think that, they were given too much authority and autonomy in terms of deciding, who it was that was eventually picked. I don't, think that there is some magical way, and obviously shouldn't be like a completely democratic process, but I think that there should have been, a real search committee composed of, people of different backgrounds within the Northwestern community that kind of had a voice in who is hired next. And I think that, like these, again, like Phillips and Fitz, they've had a lot of autonomy in terms of, what they do at Northwestern. I think a lot of which has been based off the successes that they've had here. And I think that's something that needs to be checked. And I think that's, this was kind of a sort of wake up call, saying that, sure, athletic success is great, but at the same time, we need to hold um, the leaders in, our athletics community accountable, to the choices that they make.
Hmm. And yeah, it's sad that when you look at that list that Northwestern came out with for the search committee for the athletic director, I'm not going to lie. At first, when I look at the list, I thought this is a great list. This is a collection of professors and players and just overall professionals in the department. You look at even like a guy like Mike Wilbon was on there, who's done so much for the university. It seemed like they had their head in the right. They were heading in the right direction. They had their head on straight. But then to hear that it really was just a matter of two or three voices who were deciding this decision, and for a decision to be made that where it's so clearly biased towards who they are, Pat Ryan being who he is, and Morty being who he is, it's sad to see that it was all sort of just a ruse by Northwestern in order to satisfy the public, when in reality it seemed like they really had no intention of even conducting a true search for a candidate that would break the mold, that would do great things for Northwestern, that sure Polisky can do economically, but Polisky has no one's going to trust Polisky from this point on. And I mean, not even from this point on, from months ago, years ago, because these allegations date back years, from 2017, 2018, where cheerleaders are coming forth and saying, "Hey, like I'm being racially discriminated, I'm being sexually harassed," and Polisky, instead of saying, let me help you, let me figure out a way to solve this issue so this is not a thing, because this is unacceptable for a university, he just says, you fabricated this. And he's saying, come back with real evidence. I don't want to hear this, because it doesn't fit his agenda of making money. And to hear that Polisky seems to be a little focused too much on money, and that's going to hurt the university in the end, because just when Northwestern's creeping up and up, the public is going to see this and say, why would I go to a university that doesn't look out for me?
Yeah, I really just have no idea how Northwestern thought that, all this overwhelming information would just be swept under the rug. And, like you said, the emphasis that, the university seems to hold on, continuing this economic success, this, like, looking at athletics as kind of, it seems to be just like kind of like a moneymaker, and a publicity machine, as opposed to, a group of student athletes who are, putting forth, an effort and looking to be respected. It just seems that university is approaching it in the completely wrong way. So what do you think that Northwestern should do, about Polisky and kind of, the AD position?
Well, I think they need to. I mean, Morton Shapiro mentioned that he had done an investigation with like a former FBI employee and a judge. And I think that that's all great and all that and they didn't find anything. So that's why they promoted Polisky. But I think you need to do a further investigation that really dives deep into all these allegations and make sure that if you're going with this guy, that that he really is clean, because right now it seems that he is the opposite. And so I think the university should listen to the people and do a thorough investigation to get to the bottom of these allegations and see where the problem is coming from. If it's coming from Polisky, then he doesn't deserve the job, because he's done a horrible job with player relations, and that's really should be your number one goal as an athletic director. Make sure that your players are feeling comfortable, to make sure players are coming to your university and want to play for this university. And so I think they need to do that, and then in the meantime, keep exploring these candidates, keep interviewing more candidates. They have a great collection right now, but if they weren't satisfied with the credentials of all those that they looked before in Brown, in King, then look for a few more then, and try to find that perfect candidate who's going to be able to have the same vision economically, as saying we want to make as much money as we can, but still being ethical doing it, not disregarding all your athletes, not disregarding all ethics really, and just saying we're money hungry. So I think he needs to go on really just dismissive leave for now, and the university should have an interim AD, um, and try to just get to the bottom of this investigation, because I don't think anyone will be satisfied throughout the duration of Polisky's tenure if these allegations are still flying over his head.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree more. I think that, you know, it's definitely not feasible for him to, just continue in this role kind of unchecked. I think that it makes sense that if he takes some sort of, if the university, gives him some sort of dismissive leave type of option. And again, yeah, I think just, more accountability in the process, and kind of more voices being heard, I think is going to be really, really important. And, the decision that's made from there, as long as there's more input from people that really matter, I think that I'm confident that, Northwestern can still, sort of at least right the ship uh, in this regard.
Yeah, I think there's still potential to have this situation end in a semi happy way, to find a solution where the candidate is worthy of being appointed. So, from NU Takes, I'm Michael Barthelemy,
I'm Didi.
and we'll see you all next week.